delivering for?
Man, that's for Starving Steve, man. Starving Steve.
Oh, yeah? Let me get all that shit. That's what y'all delivering in?
Hey, hold on, man. Hey, look. I need everybody to share this video, all right? Look. Hartsville and Bitchville is not fighting. No, y'all is not fighting over this dumb shit. I'm gonna be out there like Black Youngster. I'm telling y'all with the 40, I promise you, I'm gonna be out that bitch. Shooting at everybody now. A bullet ain't got nobody's name on it. Now I'm shooting just so everybody can run, cause you know how black people is. So everybody share this video. A bullet ain't got nobody's name on it now. If y'all supposed to be fighting, I'm telling you, I'm coming out that bitch. And everybody running. Word. Share this shit.
Big Cray,
Two men, both from the same small town as the victim, are now sitting in a detention center charged with murder and armed robbery.
Police in Colombia are investigating a deadly overnight shooting. Police say they responded to a home on Doctor's Circle last night where they found a 27-year-old man shot and killed. Investigators say they are still working to determine the motive behind the isolated incident.
Between those charges and a dead body is a camera, a YouTube interview, and years of street politics that were never supposed to go public. This is the story of Big Cray, a 27-year-old rapper from South Carolina who got tired of being called a snitch, sat down on camera to clear his name, and was shot and killed 13 days after that interview went live.
Who you delivering for?
Man, that's for Starving Steve, man. Starving Steve.
Oh, yeah? Let me get all that shit. That's what y'all delivering in?
The full truth of what happened is still working its way through the courts, but what we already know is heavy enough on its own. Cravion Harold Benjamin was born on April 2nd, 1997 in Darlington County, South Carolina. He grew up in Hartsville, a small city where people know each other's names, families, and business. That kind of closeness can be a blessing when life is going well, but when things go sideways in a place that small, there's nowhere to hide from it and no way to outrun it. He graduated from Hartsville High School in 2015 and stayed rooted in that community for his whole life. People who knew him described someone with one of those personalities that pulled you in without him even trying.
And I took his chain. And I took his chain. Look at him rank. Look at him rank. Look at him rank. He pussy. And he broke. Pussy ass nigga. And I spit on him. Nigga, what you want, nigga? What you want, nigga? What you want, nigga? I spit on him twice. Yeah, nigga, spit on him twice, nigga. Come on, nigga. It's one.
He had a loud laugh, a big smile, and the kind of natural energy that made people want to be in the room with him. He was a father of two children, Braylon Javion Benjamin and Ialea Anastasia Bird, and his mother Harriet Horton had passed away in November 2020. By the time this story reaches its worst point, Cray had already been living with serious grief for years before any of this came to a head. Music was the thing he gave the most of himself to.
From the Ville, it ain't no option but to win. Cost some time, I did 4 years, I swear to God, it felt like 10.
He had been recording and releasing tracks since around 2014 under the name Big Cray, and his style was exactly what you would expect from someone raised in that part of the South.
Alright, man, me and my nigga Blizz gonna get y'all motherfucking sneak peek of some shit, man. We in that bed working on it, man.
Kill this shit, double HMG.
Man, double HMG in this bitch, man. Look. Don't get mad, man. This ain't a competition. This is what we do.
It's just how we get on, man.
This your boy Cray, man. Double HMG. Got my nigga Blizz with me. 843. Stand up, ain't never changing.
Niggas changing up, I ain't changing up. You ain't getting money, you can hang with us. Never been a bitch, never been a snitch. Heard you robbing, so we got to stay with us. Try to rob us, I'ma take it rain with us. I'm the target, so these niggas ain't us. And I got a family to feed, while niggas depending on me.
Lord Saver, I'm finna fuck in the city, can't none of these niggas for with me. Whole shit trippin', come on, that nigga got me shit straight, that shit got me trippin'. Yo, bitch, get bitty trippin', slutting up.
Oh man, they gotta wait to hear the rest of it. Fuck with that, man. Sure is, man. Got none of shit coming soon.
Street-rooted, honest, and direct. In 2022, he dropped an album called Sentence Served, a 13-track project on his own independent label called GSM Empire, for which he served as CEO. Songs like First Day Out and Murder Anthem gave a clear picture of the world he was drawing from and the life he was writing about. He never got signed to a major label and his reach stayed mostly regional, but within his community he had a real following and thousands of people were actively paying attention to what he was doing on Facebook. To understand what happened to Big Cray though, you also need to know who else was part of the story before things turned deadly.
So they took my dog away. I tell my fuck my supposed to make peace. I'm going in the grill cause I'm bringing a beat. Straight headshots, ain't shooting at feet. I put him down like he taking the seat.
The person feeding the most negative energy toward Cray was his own cousin, a man named Brian Tony Up. He went by the rap name Breezo and was also a local rapper from Hartsville with his own history in those streets.
So how long do you think it'll be before you're free again?
I actually got a couple more months left in prison, you know what I'm saying?
Couple more months? So what do you see yourself when you leave out of here in the time being for a couple months?
I see myself in Hawaii, you know what I'm saying, on a jet ski, you know what I'm saying, with a 100 bands, you know what I'm saying, to play with, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I see myself standing on top of a Lamborghini, you know what I'm saying, flexed up for the times I had to be locked up, you know what I'm saying, for the time they thought I wasn't ever gonna be shit. Like they thought I was gonna do my life in jail for a murder, but that's why I see myself in 6 months. Flexer, you know what I'm saying, showing how I'm really coming.
Yeah, so this really traumatized you, but you made it through it.
According to everything that circulated publicly, Breezo was one of the loudest voices pushing the story that Cray was a rat. He went on Facebook to say it directly and, according to what was being shared at the time, even posting a screenshot that showed where Cray's daughter was staying. That second part is not rap beef anymore. Putting a child's location into a street dispute is a different level of thing entirely, and it tells you just how personal and how ugly this situation between the two of them had become. There was also another cousin involved, who went by the name Trap Dicky, another local rapper from the same area who was tied up in the same family dispute.
Niggas start singing with a mask like Phobas. West side, I be with the Bloods and the Low. West side, I be with the Cubs and the Foes.
Though Cray was not dealing with allegations coming at him from the outside, he was dealing with them coming from inside his own bloodline, which is a different and much heavier kind of pressure to carry around. The man's death that started all of this was Broderick Cortez Goodman, who was 30 years old when he was shot and killed on February 2018 on Noble Street in Florence, South Carolina. His name matters in this story, even though most of the internet conversation around what happened to Cray never stops long enough to say it. When Broderick Goodman was killed in February 2018, Florence police moved quickly and within days had arrested 4 people on murder and conspiracy charges, including an 18-year-old and a juvenile. Then, on February 14, 2018, they announced a 5th arrest, and that 5th person was Cravion Benjamin, who was then around 20 years old, charged with conspiracy and accessory after the fact to murder. It is worth being clear about what those charges actually mean, because that distinction is important to the whole story. Conspiracy and accessory after the fact are not the same as being the person who pulled the trigger. Those charges do not require you to have been the shooter or even to have been standing at the scene when the killing happened. They mean prosecutors believed you were connected to the situation in some way, either that you helped plan it beforehand or that you helped cover it up after the fact. Those are serious charges on their own, but they describe a fundamentally different level of involvement than committing the murder itself. Among all the people charged in connection with Broderick Goodman's death, the only one whose legal outcome ever became part of the public record was Gerald Romel Green, who pled guilty to voluntary manslaughter in 2019 and received an 18-year sentence. As for Cray's charges from that same case, no conviction, plea, or acquittal ever appeared anywhere publicly. The case against him simply disappeared from the record without any public explanation, which is actually common for lower-level charges in cases that aren't major headline news. But that quiet disappearance was the thing that lit the fire in his community. Here's how the streets read that situation. A man gets his name attached to a homicide case when he's 20 years old, and then his charges quietly go away with no public explanation. In a community where everybody knows everybody and people are always watching, that kind of silence doesn't stay empty for long. People fill it in with whatever story makes the most sense to them, and the story that made the most sense to a lot of people around Cray was that he had talked to police, given up information, and walked free because of it. What made the situation much worse for Cray was that the people saying it loudest were family. Brizo was going on Facebook and putting it out there for anyone who cared to read it. For years, Cray mostly let the allegations sit without responding directly. He kept moving, making music, showing up on Facebook, and staying connected to his people. But something shifted in early 2025. Whether the rumors had picked back up and reaching new ears, or Brizo going public with it again was the breaking point, or he decided he was done with it, the result was the same. On January 9th, 2025, Cray went on Facebook and addressed the situation head-on, telling people that everything connected to the 2018 case was already available in public court files. He said that he had in fact taken charges for people from Hartsville specifically to protect them from being arrested, and that those same people had never once shown him loyalty or credit in return. Around that same time, he also sat down for a full video interview with a local YouTube channel called The Family, specifically to address the snitching allegations on camera, walk through his side of what happened in the 2018 case, and call out the family situation that had been fueling the rumors for years. He brought screenshots of what he described as threats. He named names. He talked about loyalty, about what it meant to have taken charges for people who turned around and said he was a rat, and about the years he had been walking around with a label he believed had no foundation in truth.
On the jump, it was this nigga always did some shit about a girl, bro. It was a baby mama drama back in the day that got this nigga locked up, yo, straight up, straightforward.
Man, that's crazy. May you rest in peace, man. So all this happened over some Pampers, a joke, allegedly.
That been what the streets been saying since I was 10 years old, 11 years old.
How your family feeling about all that?
Shit, like, Hartsville's so small, bro. You got niggas that try to stay out of it. You got niggas that's like, play both sides, you know what I'm saying? You got people that act like they rock with you that really don't.
Right.
You got some people in our family that just don't rock with the nigga, period. You know, a lot of niggas think niggas a joke, niggas the number one troll where we from. I'm just the first nigga to get on there and troll this nigga back and actually do damage.
That second clip is important because it lays out what the dynamic inside his own family actually looked like. The people closest to him were the ones who thought he was a joke, the ones playing both sides, the ones who acted like they rocked with him but did not. And in that kind of environment, going on camera and speaking your truth out loud is either the bravest thing you can do or the most dangerous. And in communities like the one Cray came from, the line between those two things is thinner than most people on the outside would ever understand. The interview went live, got attention in the community immediately, and according to the YouTube video the channel later posted about his death, it started spreading fast. The channel was careful about how they framed it. noting that the information Cray referenced was already in public court files and making clear they were not declaring anything definitive about what happened in 2018. But presenting a story carefully and controlling how people receive it are two completely different things, and what a lot of viewers took from that interview was not the careful framing. What they took was that Cray had gone on record about things that, in his world, were supposed to stay off the record, and that the people he called out by name now had a very public problem sitting in front of them. 13 days passed between that interview going live. Everything changed. On January 22nd, 2025, at around 6 in the evening, Columbia Police Department officers responded to reports of a shooting outside a residence in the 100 block of Doctors Circle in the Colonial Park neighborhood of North Columbia, Richland County, South Carolina. That apartment complex sits off Marshall Street near Sunset Boulevard, a quiet residential area of 2-bedroom townhome units that would not draw a second look from anyone passing through. Officers arrived and found Cravon shot outside the building. He was transported by emergency services to a local hospital where he was pronounced dead.
A deadly overnight shooting. Police say they responded to a home on Doctors Circle last night where they found a 27-year-old man shot and killed. Investigators say they are still working to determine the motive behind the isolated incident. If you have any information that can help, call the police department or Crime Stoppers at 1-888-CRIME-SC.
The Richland County Coroner's Office officially confirmed his identity and ruled his death a homicide by gunshot wounds. Columbia police described the incident as an isolated event, meaning they did not believe it was random or connected to any broader pattern of violence in that area, and said investigators were actively working to determine what the motive was. They asked anyone with information to reach out to Crime Stoppers. In those first hours, the official response was procedural and straightforward, giving away nothing beyond the basic facts of the scene. Friends and family confirmed on Facebook that the victim was Cray before police had officially released his name. By the time the official announcement came, the people who loved him had already been sitting with the loss for hours. The first arrest came within days of the shooting.
Tonight, one man now in custody following a deadly shooting over the weekend.
42-year-old Marion Oates Jr. is now facing multiple charges, including murder. Columbia officers say that shooting happened Saturday at a home on Randall Avenue. The Richland County coroner confirms 50-year-old Edward Willis was found dead at the scene. Officers said that they are working to determine the motive for that shooting.
Columbia police have arrested a teenager accused in a fatal shooting last week. 19-year-old Nicholas Jackson is charged with murder and armed robbery with a deadly weapon, say police. According to investigators, last Wednesday, a 27-year-old man was found shot to death at a home on Doctors Circle. Police believe robbery may have been the motive. Jackson is being held at the Alvin S. Glenn Detention Center.
Nicholas S. Jackson Jr., 19 years old at the time, from Hartsville, South Carolina, was taken into custody in late January 2025 and charged with murder and armed robbery with a deadly weapon. He was booked into the Alvin S. Glenn Detention Center with no bond offered. He was not a stranger from somewhere else, but someone from that same tight community in Hartsville where all of this had been building for years. After that first arrest, the investigation went quiet for several months with no new public developments and no major news follow-up. Then, on August 5th, 2025, Columbia police announced a second arrest. Brandon Jackson, 25 years old, also from the Hartsville area, charged with murder, armed robbery with a deadly weapon, possession of a weapon during a violent crime, possession of a firearm by a prohibited person, and criminal conspiracy. He was also held at Alvin S. Glenn with no bond. The August press release also noted that additional arrests in Cray's killing were still pending. As of early 2026, no further arrests have been announced publicly. Both Nicholas Jackson and Brandon Jackson remain in pretrial custody. No trial date has been set and no plea deals have been reported. All publicly available evidence about the case stops there, and both men remain legally presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Here is where the official version and the street version of this story pull in different directions, and it is worth paying close attention to that gap. Columbia police have consistently described this case from the beginning as a robbery-related homicide involving acquaintances from the same region. That framing has never changed across any of their official statements, and not one police press release or court document that has become public or official statement of any kind has ever mentioned snitching, informant activity, rap beef, or retaliation as a factor in this case. According to the people who are actually building the legal case around what happened, the motive was robbery. What people online connected to instead was the timing, because when you lay the full timeline out flat, it is hard to look at it and feel nothing. The 2018 arrest, the snitch label spreading through the community for years, the cousin going on Facebook to broadcast it, Cray finally pushing back on social media, the interview going live on January 9th, and then the shooting on January 22nd. 13 days. People were always going to connect those dots regardless of what the official record said, and the story spread far beyond South Carolina because of it. A comparison that came up when this story was circulating widely was the 2021 killing of 19-year-old South Carolina rapper Paul Hartz, who performed as 18V and was shot dead during a marijuana deal arranged through Snapchat in York County.
Statements are underway in the York County murder trial of Christopher Lamont McCullough. He's accused of shooting Paul Hartz, also known as 18 Vino, an emerging rap star out of South Carolina.
Hartz was gunned down last January. So far, the prosecution and the defense, they're portraying very different pictures of who this 19-year-old rap artist was. So let's go ahead and bring in Queen City News chief legal correspondent Seema Iyer, who just stepped out of the courtroom to give us an update.
Yeah, so Seema, you watched the pretrial motion arguments, and there were some major rulings from the judge that kind of gives us a preview into how that trial will go, right?
A preview into an explosive trial, Annie. That is what I am expecting. To begin with, Paul Hartz, aka 18 Vino, was really a star. He was about to go on tour throughout the country, huge on social media, and killed just 19. And get this, the judge ruled that he is not going to be able to be referred to as victim. That is right. And we've heard this on other high-profile trials, and that is when anybody refers to 18 Vino, aka Paul Hartz, they're going to have to call him either the deceased or the decedent. Other big arguments this afternoon were about gang membership. The judge said, no, nobody's talking about gangs in my courtroom unless somebody opens the door to that type of evidence. And finally, some more insight, guys. 18 Vino wrote raps allegedly about robberies, and the defense wants to bring that in, but the judge says no to that, again, unless and until somebody opens the door and allows such evidence into the trial. Guys.
All right, so it sounds like a lot of groundwork already being laid, but Seema, tell us about the jury makeup of what we know about that right now.
Okay, so I was not allowed to watch the jury being selected, and nor are we allowed to ever film a jury. But I will tell you this, from what I just saw inside, there are 15 jurors altogether. So that's 12 of the main jury, 3 alternates. Now, from the main jury, I do see that there is one black male. I say that as significant because the defendant is a black male as well as the victim. And of course, there's this co-defendant as well who's going to be testifying. And then there's just one woman who appears to be something other than Caucasian, but of course I could be wrong. So the bottom line is, of that 15, 14 people do appear to be Caucasian. And guys, just so you know, coming up at 6, I'm going to have a lot more on what this high-profile trial is about and what both sides are saying on their case in chief. Guys.
That case went to full trial and produced detailed public testimony from both sides, with the defense arguing the victim and his friend tried to rob the buyer first, and the prosecution arguing the opposite.
Day 2 of the York County trial for the man who allegedly gunned down a rising South Carolina rap star, 18 Vino, is coming to a close.
The prosecution continued to present evidence, including law enforcement witnesses, forensics, crime scene photos, body cam footage, even a jail call made by the defendant, Christopher Lamont McCullough. Our chief legal correspondent, Seema Iyer, was once again the only television reporter in the courtroom. She joins us now live outside the Justice Center for an update here.
Yeah, so Seema, on the first full day of testimony, the jury got to hear from McCullough. What was the jury's reaction to that jail call we mentioned? What did he say, and were there any bombshells that we need to know about in court today?
Oh, it's just like my reaction, Annie. Every time I hear jail call, I just sit up straighter and my ears perk up, as did the jury. And it did not disappoint. McCullough called someone, we don't know who he called, but he did call collect. And I couldn't hear everything, but I did make out that McCullough did say to this person, quote unquote, they're trying to trick me. He also said that that someone had done a search warrant to do a mouth swab on him. And then finally, he said something about on Snap, which I inferred to mean Snapchat. And he told the person to change my password. The judge even allowed this to be played twice. And just so all of you know, usually when a search warrant is done for a mouth swab, that is to get DNA evidence, and we are expecting DNA evidence in this case. Now, another bombshell is that we saw body camera footage, and also something that jurors always want to see. And this body camera footage was from Detective Tripp right after the incident. I believe it was in front of the hospital, and the young man that you see talking, young black man, is Khalil Robinson, and he is a co-defendant who is not on trial. But in this video, he's telling Detective Tripp about what happened, what he saw, and about his friend, 18 Vino Paul Hartz, and he said, hey, he's dead. And it was really chilling, and it was tough to watch. Couldn't understand everything, so that's why I'm just trying to narrate for the viewer.
The jury came back with voluntary manslaughter rather than murder, and the convicted man received 12 years. What that case illustrated is that acquaintance-based robberies in the South Carolina rap scene almost never look clean from any direction, and the truth tends to be buried inside competing accounts that only come out when someone takes it to trial. Big Cray's case hasn't gotten there yet, and until it does, a lot of the most important questions are going to remain unanswered. Do you think Big Cray snitched? Let me know in the comments section.
Shawty, I even caught feelings, but she done start asking about the past. Yeah, she got a friend I done hit, I ain't lying about shit, I forgot it, I made her mad. Girl, you on your shit, you want it, you get it, so I don't even know why that make you mad. Girl, why you so thick, what you pay for that ass? Did you fucking with a nigga only cause it got cash? Would you fuck with a nigga if I was down bad? Would you fuck with a dog if I ever fall off? As you go stay silent, the feds come to town trying to find me, girl, please stay quiet, don't talk. Girl, please don't fuck off none of my ops. Please don't fuck off none of my bros. I need you to make sure this money keep going and flowing. Gotta handle my load. Gotta handle my load. Hey, gotta handle my plays. No matter how far you gotta go, baby, handle that load. Ay, and all money ain't good money. If the play acting funny, baby girl, don't go. I said all money ain't good money. If a nigga look bummy, baby girl, don't go. And even still go, girl, take that pole. He tried to take it, gotta handle my load. Ay, gotta handle my plays. No matter how far you gotta go, baby, handle that load. Ay, and all money ain't good money. If the play acting funny, baby girl, don't go. I said all money ain't good money. If a nigga look bummy, baby girl, don't go. And even still go, girl, take that pole. He tried to take it and take his soul. See, I fuck with Lil' Shawty, I even caught feelings, but she done start asking about the past. Yeah, she got a friend I done hit, I ain't lying about shit, I forgot it, I made her mad. Girl.
Click on one of the cards on your screen to see more videos like this. See you in the next one.